Here we go. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, we are very honored to have with us in our special Tuesday guests, Mrs. Sara Bluming, who is a shlucha of the Rebbe in Maryland. And the context in which she is joining us here tonight is that she is also the mother of an active duty soldier in the IDF. So, Mrs. Bluming, thank you so much for joining us. Thank your son for his service to our people and our country. And let's
An honor
get
to be
started.
here. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's get started. Give us a little background. I mentioned you're living in Maryland. You're a shluchim there with your husband and your family. Is this your firstborn son, your youngest son? Give us a little bit of a sense of his life experience growing up, and what prompted him to join the IDF.
Okay, so this is my Yossi. He is my third out of 8. Thank God.
Oh boy, can I know?
And I was just actually sharing this with some friends that, I had a certain vision of how my kids should turn out and how I envisioned their path in life to take. And Yossi came along and challenged that. It's not very often that you hear of a Chabad shliach, or the child of a Chabad shliach going to the army. But he was a fantastic kid. He was just very creative, out of the box, had his own path, and from the beginning. And he went to school. When it came time for high school, for in Chabad, the boys go to Masifta. He did go to Masifta, actually in Chicago, for a little bit, and then he came back, and it didn't quite work out very well. He stayed home, and then he went to another yeshiva the next year, and he came back, when he was, I think it was like at the end of 9th grade or 10th grade, maybe it was that in the 10th grade. He sat us down. He said, "Mom and Dad, I'm joining the army." And we're like,
how old was he at this point?
He was, I want to say, the second year of Masifta. So what is that?
15,
That's like
16?
9th grade, 10th grade. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He says, like, if you listen to all his interviews, he says he thought about this from when he was the age of 9. He wanted to join the army. He wanted to be disciplined, and he wanted to, give himself to a higher cause, and he was very motivated. And so that was like, after he told us that, we found him a mechina, a program in Israel that has a very intense army training program. He went when he was 16 and a half, and the day he turned 17, he checked out of the yeshiva and went to register for the army.
Can I jump in
prior to that?
Let me jump in for one more piece of background. At that point, had he ever been to Israel before?
No.
He had never been to Israel.
Never been to Israel. The truth is, his first thought was to join the American army. Oh boy, and then when he went to summer camp, he had a counselor who had been in the Israeli army and said, "You got to join the Israeli army, the IDF."
Wow.
And he was like, "Yeah, for sure." Like, it kind of was like a no-brainer. He's going to join the Israeli army. And so he made Aliyah.
And do you have direct family in Israel? Do you have like sisters or your husband have family?
No.
So he goes all by himself.
All by
himself. 16.
Yeah.
He gets on a plane. He goes to some yeshiva, makes Aliyah. I mean, that's pretty precocious for 16.
Yeah. He's that kind of kid.
No kidding. And how was his Hebrew? Was he fluent in Hebrew?
It's so good. I don't understand it. I mean, it's flawless. You would never know he's an American.
And at 16, he was already fluent like that?
He practiced at home a lot. Every Shabbos, he had like his papers, a stack of papers, and we would test him on his papers, and he was very motivated. In fact, when he signed up, he got I think a 9 out of 10 on his Hebrew. They didn't even have to send him to any Ulpan program, which is very unusual for American, or people who come from who make Aliyah.
And what was his siblings? What did your other kids think of their brother making Aliyah, joining the army at 16? And what did they think of that?
They were excited.
Okay. And how was your community's response?
Oh, they were so proud. So once we got past the initial shock, we very much supported him, and we were very proud of him. We found him a place to stay. We have a friend who has an apartment, so he went there, and we connected him to people. And
but he's basically there all by himself. He's 16 years old. He dropped in a foreign country, essentially with nobody looking after him. He's in this program. He does well. He joins the army at 17. Now what happens?
So he joins the army. He does his training, his basic training, and then his goal is to be in special forces. Like, he wants to continue going through his goal is always to be the best, like to go beyond, extend himself as far as he can, as much as he can.
And how
So-
old is he now? So how many years ago?
He's
is this?
20. He's 20.
So this is 3 years ago.
Yeah, so he is a staff sergeant right now. So he
Oh my.
went up in the rank of a staff sergeant. Ironically enough, he finished his training 3 days before the war started. Like, he was officially done his entire service, and then the war broke out. So he went right back into Gaza. He came out of Gaza about a week ago, and even though he doesn't have to go back, he's now back at the Bach, it's called. That's the training base. He's training all the new recruits that are coming in. He's a paratrooper, Sanchanim. So he is training now all the new recruits that are coming in. And he said to me, "Mommy, I'm so tired." Like, they hardly slept in Gaza. I'll send you 2 podcasts you can listen to where he shares his story. And he's
Sure.
a phenomenal speaker. He's actually, people joke that he should be the spokesperson for the IDF.
Why not? So he's 20 years old and now he's training.
Yeah, he's training the new recruit. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
And
here's
he
the
wants
big
to
question
continue-
everybody wants to know. How many times have you recited the entire Tehillim since your son joined the army?
That's a good question. I mean, myself, a number of times. I think more than the Tehillim, honestly. I've been on a mission, like, from when he went into Gaza. Well, from the start of the war, really. And like, I knew he was like training and like going in, and I was on a mission to just get people to do as many mitzvahs as possible. So I think, to me, it was more than the Tehillim. It's like reaching out to as many women as I know, asking them, will you consider going to the mikvah? Will you light a Shabbat candle? Will you, like, what mitzvah? And people have been, I can't even tell you how receptive. People are extremely proud of Yossi. They are extremely supportive of Yossi. They'll say, "Sara, tell me a mitzvah." I'll say, "What about mikvah?" "Not ready for that yet. Anything else?" I'm like, "Sure, here's a list. We could do the Shema, we could do Modani. All right, I'll do Modani, But they're so willing to, like, if it's not mikvah, if it's not, there's something they're comfortable with, they want to do something. I mean, people are incredibly supportive. I had friends bring me flowers. I had 2 other families who brought me dinners for the first 2 weeks, which was so nice. They're like, "We just want to help you. We just want to give you. You always give to us. We want to give back to you." And I mean, tremendous. Thank God. Like, and people are so proud. Like, they feel like this is their chayal. Like, yes, he's there. He's in the front lines. He's fighting. He's speaking about his experience. He's proud. And the other amazing thing about Yossi is that he looks like a Chabad kid. So if you see him, he's got a full beard. He looks like he's 30. My kids, they have a lot of facial hair. So he's only 20, but he looks like he's 30. He's got a full beard. He's got his tzitzis, and he looks the look, and you don't expect him to be in the army. So it's pretty, remarkable.
So at this point, he's fully in the army. You said, just to recap, so he had finished really his obligation of the army. And what was before this all began, what was sort of his long-term vision? Was he planning on staying in Israel? Was he planning on coming home?
No, he planned on staying in Israel. So, because, again, this is my out-of-the-box kid. He actually he got married last year at the age of 19.
Oh, mazel tov. Okay.
So he's married now already a year. Got married in September. The wedding was in Israel, a beautiful wedding.
And
my
his wife is from
an
Israel?
Amazing girl. What?
She's Israeli, your daughter?
She's Israeli. Her father is actually from Maryland, from here, and her mother is from Canada. They made Aliyah. So she speaks a fluent English. And this was a friend of mine who made the shidduch. He called me. He's like, "Mom, I want to get married." I'm like, "Yossi, you're a kid. You're 19. You're in the army. You can't get married." He's like, "Mom, I'm ready. I want, this is my Yossi." And he was ready. He's very mature and he's like incredible. So thank God.
Well, he clearly knows what he wants. And
effort.
So his plan was, though, I mean, obviously before this exploded, was he's finished the army. Was he just planning on getting a job, getting an apartment and living a life?
Well, they have an apartment. They have a house. They live in the West Bank. Actually, they live in one of the settlements. It's called
Dolev. Okay. Sounds
so
consistent with everything else you've told us about him.
Yeah, he wants to, like
he wasn't living in. He didn't have a suite in the Waldorf Astoria in Yerushalayim, I guess. And what was his sort of vision to
his vision is that he wants to be part of like special forces, like either
he's making the army his career.
Yeah, he wants this to be a career. He wants it to be a career, but he wants to be home more, because when he was when he was doing his service, he was away 2 out of 4 weeks a month, 3 out of 4 weeks a month. For a newlywed, that's challenging. So he was kind of looking forward to, being home right now with his wife. And then,
Where was he when the war broke out? Was he home? Was he in a base?
They were home. They were in Dolev. And he got called up right away. I don't know if he got
And
called up or I think he just went to call himself up. I mean, either way,
so he hears about it. He's celebrating some Torah. He hears about it, and immediately he knows what to do. He jumps into action.
They do intense training for, when he called us. I mean, we finally heard from him after a few days. He said they're getting ready to go in, and it was going to be like a week later. And then it turns out it was actually 2 weeks later that they actually ended up going in. They were doing a lot of intense training right outside Gaza. So his unit went in 2 weeks later, which was, for me, was a gift, because it was like, when he told me he was going in, I was a mess. Like, it took me like a day or two to, find myself. And then I'm like, he's not in. That's great. I'm so happy he's not in. Like, me and my husband were like, okay, let him just stay out. And then one morning we woke up and he had sent a text, which was a very hard text to read as a parent, saying goodbye, and his last will and testament is with his wife. And it's like so jarring to see such a text from your 20-year-old son, and he ended with a quote from Tehillim, Erdof oyev v'asigim velo ashuv ad kalotam. I will pursue my enemy and I will overtake him, and I will not return until they are consumed. That was how he ended his text.
And how long from then until you heard from him again?
Right. So that was when he entered Gaza. So that was for me like a lot of, like, those 2 days I cried nonstop.
2 days. So
for 2 days for me. No, he was in longer, but for me, it took me 2 days to kind of get back to a place of bitachon, of trust in God, of, I was very strong before that. I was like really like fighting my negative thoughts and my scary thoughts, and, filling my mind with just positive energy and positive visions of him coming home safely. And, but when he actually went into Gaza, it took me 2 days of like.
And how long were you not in communication with him?
So for that first week, we didn't hear from him for a week. And then he called us from Gaza from some sort of satellite phone on Thursday. He called my husband. And then on Friday, he called me. He had come back. And then he went back in for 2 more weeks. And then we didn't hear from him for 2 weeks, which was really hard. And then actually it was interesting because the last day of the 2 weeks, I was fine the whole time. The last day was getting to me. I'm like, I'm worried about him. Is he okay? How's his mental state? Is he, he also, before that, prior to going into Gaza, he was one of the soldiers who cleared out Kibbutz Be'eri. So he saw a lot of heartbreaking sights, so he was one of the soldiers that did that, went through this kibbutz and cleared it out. And, he was describing to us some things that he had seen. And, he said, my socks smell like death. Like they were just like, even terrorist dead bodies all over. And, they didn't change their socks for 11 days. I mean, it's intense, but so this is the last of the 2 weeks. My daughter-in-law was told that they were going to do this live interview in Gaza with his unit. So he was actually featured on channel 12 of television, of Israeli TV. And we were so excited because he was on there for like 2 minutes and then like 1 minute, like
is that on YouTube? Is that somewhere we can
I could send it to you. I could send it to you. The whole video was on you. And was actually, he said to us after, I was telling you, my son, he's like, he has this reputation of being the spokesperson. He said that his menpei, who's like the head of the unit, when the TV reporter came, he was like, if a Bluming, where's the Bluming kid? We want him to speak to the lady. Like, let him be the one to speak. So they interview him,
In Hebrew or in English?
Hebrew, fluent Hebrew. I honestly, I didn't understand what he said. I had to ask somebody to translate. So, so, he speaks like beautiful. I mean, incredible. You never know he's American.
Wow.
Yeah. And then that night he called us, which was so interesting because we thought it was live. It actually turns out they had, it was taken live, and then I think it was aired a day or two later. But that night he was finally let out, and he, for like over an hour, our whole family was on FaceTime with him, and he shared with us his experiences of what he had been through. And, then he went home, and then I said to him, he said, I'm so tired. I said, why don't you rest? Yes. He's like, how can I rest when my boys are in Gaza? I can't, like, I need to go back and do something. So he's now training. He's back on base already. Last week he went back, and he's doing, he's like, this is like his third time doing the full basic training. He did it once and then he did it again. And now he's kind of, the treks and the 4 mile hike and the heat and the cold. I mean, it's like these guys, what they deal with is just intense, but their drive is so incredible.
So how is his presence as a Lubavitcher kid with a beard and tzitzis and davening and so on, how has it affected his fellow soldiers? Has there been any sense of connection? We know sometimes in Israel, there's a little friction between the observant and the non-observant. How has that played out in his life experience?
Yeah, so he says that when he came to sign up for the army, to register, the guy who saw him said, "Oh, there's a guy to the exemption." He's like, "No, I'm not here to get an exemption." They immediately saw him. They're like, "You're here to get an exemption. You don't want to join the army. Go there. That's the guy." He's like, "No, I'm actually here to check in. I want to sign up." They're like, "Oh, really? Chabad? With the bit like, all right, go here." So he said, no, he's certainly breaking the mold and breaking this like perception and this prejudice of like religious Jews, Haredi Jews not joining the army. And the other thing is like, he's just like, we're so proud of him because he actually won Outstanding Soldier Award, which is very unusual for a Haredi soldier. You're talking about like, he was chosen from amongst 6,000 other soldiers as an outstanding soldier. There's, I think, a handful, maybe 6 or 8 soldiers out of the 6,000 that are chosen. And he's one of them. And I mean, I could send you the article. JNS featured it, and we got calls from Jews all over the world. Like, I don't know who these people are. Just we are so touched. Like, we are so touched to see a religious kid get this honor, and it's an honor because they're outstanding soldiers, not because they, it's not just a service. It's their behavior, their character, their midos, their quality. So it's really like he's doing a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. And even now, like when he left Gaza, he's just so incredible. He reached out to all the soldiers in his unit, which is a lot. And he said to the parents, "Call me. I will tell you how your boys are doing." You have to remember, these are kids. Parents have not heard from their kids in 2 to 3 weeks. And so we got texts, like beautiful. I have texts from mothers crying in their message. "I can't even tell you what this means. Your son reached out. He told me, regards from my son. He said where he is and how he's doing." Like parent after parent, like just they don't have enough words to say about Yossi, about his caring and his noticing every boy. So I think there's so much, like he's a model to not just to secular, but even to Haredim, like to the Jewish Orthodox community, that you can be a soldier and be able to straddle both worlds of being Chabad. He wears his beard, he doesn't touch his beard. He said that the 2 weeks that he was in Gaza, 3 weeks he was there, he did not miss a day of tefillin, which is very challenging because they don't take off their helmet. They're not, he has to put on the tefillin of the head, tefillin sharosh, he's got to take off the helmet. He said there was one day, like, he was having a really hard, like they were running back and forth in the houses, and the commander was there, and he's like, he had to run to a separate room and like hide and take off his helmet, put on the tefillin like right before Shkia because he didn't want the guy to see, then he quickly put it back on, but he was able to manage to put it on every single day in war. He had both sets of tefillin. So he certainly is, and definitely a role model and an encouragement to the other boys, whether they're religious or not, of how just a mensch. That's what they're all saying. He's just a real mensch. So it's not just, you could be religious and fanatic, but you could be religious and caring and sensitive and kind and care about your fellow soldier. So amazing. Yeah, he's done a lot of good, in that sense.
Inspiring, amazing. Thank you so much. We want to be respectful of your time. If anybody wants to unmute and jump in with like a real short question, we'll let Mrs. Bluming go. Your son is a hero to all of us. Please do send me those.
I'll send you the links. And there's 2 podcasts. One before the war when he received the Outstanding Soldier Award, and he talks about
in English. Anything that
they're both in English. They're both in English.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay.
And then the other one was just his experience in Gaza. He just shared that. That's also amazing. They're both 2 interviews, one before the war, one after, when he came out. So I'll share those with you.
Amazing. Okay. Well, when is he coming home to visit? And we'll have him on.
So he's not. I'm actually going there next week to surprise him.
Beautiful. I won't tell.
Don't tell him.
Okay. Everybody,
I already cleared it with the commander. He'll be home for Shabbat. So I'm really excited about that. Just to, literally.
Every soldier probably loves having his mother come in front of the whole unit, and bring him cookies and stuff. But that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, you certainly are proud, and we're proud of him just to know you. And to know him, and Hashem should keep him safe, of course, with all the soldiers.
All the soldiers are real heroes.
Everyone should be safe. They are, no, unquestionably. I mean, they have answered the call of our people. Again, if somebody wants to unmute,
I have a quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
I think that it's incredible, your story, and I have to say that, like, we're proud of him. We're proud of you too. Like, I'm a newish mother. I have a almost 2-year-old, and I find that like everything is hitting me in a much deeper and different way than it had before I was a mom. And I just want to know, like you said, it took you 2 days to be able to be okay again. Like, what are you doing to be okay? Because like I feel like we all need that right now.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I was just telling my friend, and I've been sharing this with other friends as well, that it's like you live in a different reality. When your son is in Gaza, when your son is in active combat, you literally live on a different planet. So I felt like adrenaline, just complete adrenaline. Like I was like, go, 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 go. We're gonna end this war. We got to bring Mashiach. Like I'm gonna do whatever I can, and constant like, in a state of like positivity. It took me some time to get there. Like again, the beginning was like a lot of overwhelming thoughts of fear and what's going to be and what if this and what if that, and it's scary. But then I worked on pushing those thoughts away, and I came to a place of like just positivity, just bitachon. And so for me, it was like those 5 weeks were like I was living in a different world. And then when he came back from Gaza, like it took me 3 days then to kind of, I felt like I fell down this huge mountain, like, whoa, where am I? Like I just landed, like I had to find myself. I had to recenter myself. It took three good days to kind of find my balance. My friend says to me, welcome to the world of normal people. She tells me, like, welcome to our world. Like we're normal. And I'm like, I don't like this. Like, it's like an adjustment for me to kind of come back to the world of normal. But like, it was there's like a certain adrenaline that you have when your son is in the front lines. Like you're just, for me, that's how I, coped with it. Like just drive, like calling every person I know. And again, mitzvah, what mitzvah? We're doing this. We're going to end this war. Mashiach is coming. Like boom, like it was like, I was like just going. So
Wow.
now I find it almost a little harder. Like I have to have that drive, like I need that push. So I have to keep pushing, but it's like, it's less intense. So that's how I cope,
We saw your daughter poke her head. How has this affected your other children?
Oh, thank God. They're actually doing really well.
Hello, what's your name?
Shayna.
Shayna. How proud are you of your brother in the army?
I don't know.
You're
You
not
don't
proud?
know?
I am.
You tell all your friends?
They all know.
They all know. Okay, wonderful. I bet you say a lot of Tehillim for him.
Yeah, they're all very proud, and they're all like, thank God they're
You
not
should be.
afraid. I think because maybe we're not afraid. So they're, they have that. Thank God, actually, it's, grateful that they're not panicked or, Baruch Hashem,
Baruch Hashem.
they're strong. We're all
Beautiful.
strong as a family. And, like
Beautiful.
we gather, we tell them, mitzvah, every mitzvah counts.
Amen. Amen. Okay,
Yeah.
unless someone else has another quick question, they want to unmute just briefly. Otherwise, we want to be respectful of Mrs.
No, I'm
Blooming's
okay.
time.
I'm good. I have time,
Okay, someone else want to jump in here? Shayna, you want to share something? How this experience has been for you? Shayna, how has it been for you to have your brother in the army? Is that hard? Is it odd?
I don't feel any different.
You don't feel any different. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, we want to thank you so much. And of
Well,
course,
thank
thank
you
your
for
son.
joining.
Please do tell him how proud everyone here in Chicago and of course all over the world. And of course, we're davening for him and all the soldiers, and everyone should be healthy. We should have
Amen.
peace, true peace, which will come about with the Bias Mashiach Tzidkenu.
Amen.
And we look forward to hearing more from him when he comes back. That would be
Yes.
great.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.